Hello, this is Tom Britt. West Tennessee PBS is working hard to bring you more local shows and quality PBS programs. And they need your financial help because they don't run commercials, they rely on your support. It's easy to donate. Go to their website, westtnpbs.org, and click on the Donate tab. Your donations to Channel 11 stay local and help WLJT-TV continue their mission to be as local as possible.
Good afternoon, Rotarians. It is truly my privilege today to introduce one of Rotary's very own. Our speaker is not only a dedicated Rotarian, but a lifelong educator, leader, and servant to our community, Dr. Jerry Woods. Dr. Woods was born in Pinson, Tennessee, and is a proud graduate of Southside High School. He earned his bachelor degree from Lambeth College, his master's and education specialist degrees from Memphis State University, and his doctorate from the prestigious University of Mississippi. Yeah, hotty-toddy. Over the course of his distinguished career, Dr. Woods has served as a teacher, principal, and instructional supervisor in Jackson, Madison County schools. He has also led as superintendent of schools in Covington and Clinton, Tennessee, and Forest City, Arkansas. In higher education, he served as executive vice president of Lane College and currently serves as center manager for Washington Douglas Head Start program. He is a Paul Harris Fellow +1, a past president of the Covington Rotary Club, member of the Madison County Election Commission, graduate of West Star, and a recipient of the R.E. Womack Lifetime Achievement Award. Today, he will share with us the impact of Rosenwald schools in Madison County, an important and meaningful topic as we reflect during Black History Month. So please join me in welcoming our friend and fellow Rotarian, Dr. Jerry Woods.
Good afternoon, Rotarians. And thank you so much, Chris. And I'm excited to be here to see all. It's different. It's like when you're at church, when you see a church member just speak a little different. So with my Rotarians that we'll see on a daily and a weekly basis. Once upon a time, in many southern states across this area, small one-room schools dotted the landscape of just about every county across the South. These small one-room schools became the passports for future generations for their success. When you look at our challenge today, many of these one-room schools did not have the amenities that students needed. However, they succeeded. But because of what we're going to talk about today, because of the Julius Rosenwald Rural School Building Program, those situations changed. So today, just want to talk just a little bit about the impact of Rosenwald schools in Madison County, Tennessee. We know there are Rosenwald schools all across the South. Go back one more, okay. The impact of Rosenwald schools in Madison County, Tennessee. Okay, now what we wanted to do, I was gonna make this interactive, but I'm gonna make it quicker now. So I tell you what, Chief, ask me that first question.
What sparked your interest in Rosenwald schools?
Thank you for that question. Very good question. Very good. Well, basically what sparked my interest in Rosenwald schools, I attended a Rosenwald school in Meeting, Moleses, Tennessee. One afternoon, this was a while back when I was in probably elementary school, we went to a church visiting in Gibson County, and I saw Mr. Smith, another Rosenwald school. And this was Gibson Rosenwald School. I said, wait a minute, that school has the same name as our school. Had no idea that was a whole mass of schools that were named Rosenwald schools. So that sparked my interest So just kind of going on our local history, knowing about schools, wanting to know about schools, always have been interested in education. It just rolled on, and so that actually sparked my interest. So much so that I wrote my dissertation at Ole Miss on Rosenwald schools. And when you look at it, when you go in and you're working on your dissertation, your chairman always says, get something that you can live with for about 2 years, because you're gonna have to deal with this kind of over and over and over again. So I was so interested in the Rosenwald schools that I presented my proposal. And I wanted to do it on the Rosenwald schools. And this is just a small, that's the small version of my dissertation. And it basically talks about Rosenwald schools. You have to narrow it down. So mine is the Julius Rosenwald Rural School Building Program in selected West Tennessee communities. However, I will only deal with Madison County today. Scott, read that next question, sir.
What are Rosenwald schools?
Okay, what are Rosenwald schools? Well, Rosenwald schools were schools that were built by the Julius Rosenwald Fund. Very interesting study. Actually, Julius Rosenwald devised a plan. And the plan required for the local citizens to make a match toward the amount that the Rosenwald schools put together. And mentioning the fact of the Rosenwald schools, we're going to go through the process quickly of how you get one and all that. But what a Rosenwald school were, it was schools that were constructed with assistance from the Rosenwald Fund. Not totally built only by the fund, but it was assisted, and the fund served as an impetus for others to get involved. Next slide, please. If you see there, I believe, I have to use it here because I can't see as well from back there. However, there were more than, in 15 southern states, there were more than 5,000 Rosenwald schools built. There were more than 5,000. And in Tennessee, there were 373 Rosenwald schools. Now, some of those might be, it may be a little more than that because of, history is hard to, sometimes files get lost, sometimes papers get lost, but right now we can account for at least 373 Rosenwald schools built in Tennessee. Now, as far as Madison County, we have 6 or 7 that were built in Madison County. However, I think there are a little bit more, but because of the information, you have to go by that. And another thing, when you're doing a historical study, it has to be as many primary sources as possible. You don't want, if I say, well, Hal, did you see the accident? Well, if Hal told me, well, no, but Chris told me he saw it, that's a secondary source. And so when it's strong, all the material here was as many primary sources as possible in the study. And so when those numbers that we have, you have school board records, you actually will have deeds, you will have bids where you had the roofing done, you'll have the application that was made to the Rosenwald Fund. Those are primary documents. And so you want it very, very strong in that particular way. Next slide. Prior, as I said before, prior to the advent of Rosenwald schools, many of these students did the best they could in buildings. Many met in large halls. Many met in churches. Many met in, sometimes this building pretty much somewhat of a barn structure. Now, this was before Rosenwald schools came into fruition or came into place. But these students, these were the ones, those one-room schools, those two-room schools, is where these children learned prior to the advent of Rosenwald schools. Next slide, please. That's another, that's the old Golden School, and that's in Madison County. That's the old school, which is Madison County, Denmark area. That's the old school in which that's the old school that you will see the difference once we see how the Rosenwald schools came into being. Next slide. Who, no, somebody need to read. I'm gonna do it myself. Stan, read that question right quick. Okay, who was Julius Rosenwald and Booker T. Washington? Try to speed it along. Next slide, brother. Okay. Got my slide? Okay, that's a photograph of Julius Rosenwald. Julius Rosenwald was better known as the main CEO of Sears and Roebuck. He worked with the company and eventually became the CEO of the company. He was born under modest circumstances, but became one of the wealthiest people in the world. Now, Julius Rosenwald actually went forth to go to work with Booker T. Washington on this particular venture. He wanted African Americans, he wanted blacks in the South to have even a greater opportunity. And what better way to have a greater opportunity rather than to do it in the area of education? Julius Rosenwald, with his, he was there at Sears when the Sears catalog company or order company was the greatest company in the world. It was said that the Sears catalog took its place of prominence by the American Bible in many homes across the nation. Because with the Sears Roebuck company, a lady in the South could order a dress that a lady in New York could wear. Because of the Sears Roebuck, they could get so many things. So Rosenwald worked very hard. So he and Booker T. Washington were very good friends. Next slide. Okay, basically, Booker T. Washington, we know of his fame. He was the president of Tuskegee Institute, now Tuskegee University. Booker T. Washington walked several miles from Virginia to Hampton to finish his degree. At Tuskegee, he worked very hard in the area of agriculture, believing so much in self-help. If those who know the work of Booker T. Washington, he gave a speech at the Atlanta Exposition, and he says the words that water, water everywhere. That's from the rhyme of ancient Mary. However, he says water is all around us, but just let down your buckets where they are. He really believed in self-preservation. He believed in students working. He did a lot more on the manual part of labor. So sometimes he and W.B. Du Bois would sometimes spar with each other because W.B. Du Bois was believed a little more in the talented 10th on the academic end, while Booker T. Washington believed on the academic end, but he wanted a balance there where students can know how to lay bricks, where students can know how to make some things. So anyway, make it quick, Washington and Julius Rosenwald became good friends. So Julius Rosenwald met with Booker T. Washington, and Booker T. Washington said, I'd like to do this plan. I'd like to build a couple of model schools in Alabama, in the communities, and let's just see how it goes. So Julius Rosenwald thought about it. He's on his birthday, I believe it was his 50th birthday, he sent the money and they started doing the schools. Next slide. Okay, we'll just move on through that because of time. Okay, Doc, read that question for me. Yes.
What was the Rosenwald School's building process?
Okay, it was just more than saying, okay, you want a school? Yeah, it's a little more than that. There was a building process. There was a process that was done. Okay, if you get the next slide. Okay, the first Rosenwald school building program was conducted and oversaw by Mr. W.E. Turner. W.E. Turner was the director of Negro education. The State Department of Tennessee, like our Department of Education now, had a director of Negro education. It was the job of Mr. W.E. Turner, who worked with the Rosenwald program to first get with the community to accept the application. If you wanted to do it, and we're going to try to move it along, if you wanted to do it, you went through Mr. Turner. Okay, so it would seem that it was not bad. It seemed like everything would be taken care of, but there were a lot of hoops that still had to be done. So when we talk about it, the people had to get a certain amount of land. We're going to talk about that piece. Even if they were granted the Rosenwald grant, Stan, African Americans didn't have a bank to take the money. So you had to go and get all that taken care of, which was the job of, next slide, of the next person. That person, that is Brother Mr. R.E. Clay, affectionately known as Daddy Clay. And it was his job to serve as the intercessory, to say how, and his job was to go to the white community and say, look, you all, and go between the black community and the white community and say, y'all, we got to get the land donated. Then I've got to then you go with the white community and say, y'all, we know this will help all of us. That was a very, very critical job that he had. Because you could get the grant, but if it couldn't go any further, it wouldn't help anyone. So Daddy Clay was known, R.E. Clay was known for that. So W.E. Turner was over Negro education, and R.E. Clay served as an intercessor. He was able to work with people. He was able to work with both aisles, go across both sides. And because of his work and the work with Mr. Turner, those things were taken care of. Next slide. Quite a quick overview. Okay. Now, hold up just a moment. Now, these are the Rosenwald schools in Madison County. Next slide. Okay. This was actually, I believe, move on up to the next one because I'm trying to get. Okay. That's a copy of a Rosenwald school in Madison. That's a new Rosenwald school. Notice the difference between that one and the barn that we saw earlier. Most of them had the same setup because with Julius Rosenwald being in Sears, they had some prefabricated buildings so they could bring them together. And one of the things they had Dressler to do, they took as much advantage of the natural light as possible. You'll see the windows in the front, then the large windows, the side. They really had like you really called it, I think they called it a cloakroom or coat room. And that's in Madison County. That's old Ingram School. Well, that's Ingram Rosenwald School out toward Denmark. Next slide. Okay, that's Atwater School, which is now out toward the Hertz Chapel area. And some of these photographs, of course, they're doing pretty well to hold up as well as they are, but those are at Fisk. Of course, you go to all these places to get, those are actual photographs. Can you imagine how much pride that brought to the community? Because most of the schools were nicer or higher grade than the people where the people lived, but it made such a difference. Next slide. Okay, now this is what we want to do quickly. This is the card on what the schools cost. Okay, now this is St. John's School. Okay, so it's in Madison County. Someone had to get the 2 acres of land. It was a two-type school built in 2021, 22. Okay, there's your application number. But notice the total cost of that building was $3,100. Then look at your contributions. The Negroes at that time, of course, that's what it says on there, African Americans gave $2,300 of that money. It's amazing when your people, and what they did to get the money was just phenomenal. I mean, they sold eggs, they cut back on their meager meals that they already had because they wanted to have that school. And so, but the main impetus then on this one, the Rosenwald Fund gave $800, which is great, but it was the impetus that did it. They said, look, if Mr. Rosenwald is going to do this, surely we can come together and do that. So, next slide. Okay, Beamer School, which is out there, similar. Now notice, on that one, the total cost $3,900. On that one, that was pretty much totally paid for by the whites, the public, and the Rosenwald Fund. And I think part of the advantage of the Bemis, Mr. Smith, was the meal was there, and they were able to give funds at the next slide. Okay, now quickly, this is the history of the school that predated the school that I went to. This is Span Rosenwald School in Meaton, Tennessee. Next slide. Okay, so the historical development of Span Rosenwald School, Mr. G.W. Tyson related. What I did is there were still some students that attended this school alive when I wrote my dissertation. I graduated in 1995, so many of those people, quite a few people were alive. So I've got their oral collections on that, but the part of Rosenwald School is that the Rosenwald School there in Span Rosenwald, those students went to St. Paul's Church School, which was just right down the road from the Rosenwald School. We won't go through the whole, but I wanted you just to see that. Next slide. Okay, that is the Span Rosenwald School that predated the school. The school that I attended, that school was burned. The school that I attended opened in 1960. It was a brick school. It was not an original Rosenwald school, but Mr. James L. Walker, when of course everybody went to school under Mr. Walker in the county, but when I talked with him, he said that he named the new school Rosenwald just in honor of the past school. But that's the original, and notice they all look the same. Pretty much, see the front, the windows to the side, and that's that building now, the brick building is located on Meaton Melissa's Road, up from Melissa's School, but that's the original. Next slide. Okay, this is information for the Span School. Span Rosenwald, most of them were 2 acres of land. The individuals had to go forward with it. 2-teacher type, same thing. African Americans and Negroes, $1,250. On this one, we didn't have white participation on that, but however, you have the public was $1,600. But a lot of times, we found historically there were some individuals who donated but wanted to remain anonymous. So that could have been any race of other people that did the 1,600. Okay, and then the public in Rosenwald gave 700. Next. Okay, and so this is the part that was I thought was so good. Mr. Hunter Span, he and his wife, Katie, they got the process underway by getting the 2 acres of land, and I have that quote there. And the board, these are the members of the Board of Education. You can't read it as well, but they did accept the part, that transaction. Next slide. If you see to the top, that is the original lot that the Spans gave. And it shows exactly, and they, for that amount, and with them apparently not being able to read, they made their X, but their X really wrote history. And Span Rosenwald became reality. Next, we'll get through. I know you. Okay. Finally, we did, for the Jackson Bicentennial, we did also a celebration of the Rosenwald. Next slide. Yeah, we were out at the Bemis, and of course, our Jackson Recreation and Parks Department were very, very helpful to assist us. That's the Bemis School, since it served on their board. That's another school that is the oldest remaining Rosenwald school in Tennessee. And that's out, and that we did Rosenwald Days, and it was revisiting Rosenwald schools, and I wrote a play, Much Obliged, Mr. Rosenwald. And it talked about the opening of the school, and we had some other information, did some games, and then lastly,
That was the cast. Billy did it out. All of them did a great job. Billy Warboys, we wrote the script, got everything directed, and he played Rosenwald. Did an outstanding job. So, last slide. No, we were fast, but the Rosenwald School legacy continues. There's been a very, very uproar, more people who want to do more in the schools. It's not many that are still existing today because they were wooden schools, and many of them have done. I know our time has been out, but you can tell the contagious. It is a wonderful study. It's a study to show that people can work together. It's a study to show that someone who you wouldn't commonly know would go forward and do it. And the Rosenwald Fund closed in 1932 when Julius Rosenwald passed away. He wrote in his will that he did not believe in perpetuity. So what he did, he wanted the funds to be used within a certain number of years of his death. So that was why the last Rosenwald School was built in 42, I believe. That was in Warm Springs, Georgia. That's why you don't see any new Rosenwald schools today. Thank you all so much for the opportunity.
The program you've been watching was made possible through the generous financial support of West Tennessee PBS viewers like you. Please visit westtnpbs.org and make a donation today so that we can continue to make local programs like this possible. Thank you.